Mercury is just in full retrograde swing. I have been trying to film this video all morning, but something keeps happening. Like with my other camera, which never overheats and never gets low bat quickly. Suddenly, low bat like 3 times. I charged it for an hour after the first time it went low bat. And then it did it again. So anyway, hi everyone, I'm Lena, and if you're subscribed to this channel, you probably know me from booktube. So, what was I saying about Mercury retrograde? Alright, so my camera just freaking like fell. Hi everyone, so like I was saying, I'm Weena and I'm a tarot reader from the Philippines. If you're subscribed to this channel, you probably know me from my booktube channel or from real life. In any case, hi. I honestly wasn't sure like what I was gonna do with this channel, and yeah, now I kind of have a better idea. I think I really want to focus on just sharing my tarot journey with you guys and not really having so much pressure to create content or to put something out that will necessarily be pragmatic or useful. Although of course if you guys are going to take something from these videos, and that's great. I'd also love to kind of build a community with you guys and sort of talk to more people about esoteric stuff and tarot related stuff, because it is a huge passion of mine and something that's really changed my life. I want to give a shout out and thank you to Anna from Astral Lady Tarot, who kind of created this tag or this like VR chain. Super duper excited to be doing this, and I think it's like the perfect first video honestly for this channel. And yeah, Anna's channel is super duper amazing. Yeah. I love watching everything from her. She's just super duper chill, and that's something that I really need in my coffee driven crazy life. So the first question in this tag is, what are your main decks, or the decks that you know like back and forth? Basically, if someone references something from that deck, you can be like, ah, I know what card that is. So the first one I'm going to talk about is the RWS. I did start learning with this. This is just the basic Rider-Waite-Smith that you can get at Fully Booked for around 700 pesos. It's a deck that I've been with for a really long time. I started reading tarot in 2016, and this was the first deck that I bought. And I think that was like an excellent choice for a deck to start with, because there is something about the way that the RWS is illustrated that just makes it super conducive for learning, because it's kind of like a storybook, I guess, and it's something that allows you to kind of see the meanings, and it allows you an entry point into all of that esoteric goodness without necessarily putting any pressure on you to know everything by heart or to know exactly what thing the card is referencing. Yeah, so definitely a staple. And there is something about the RWS, I think, where I find it's really good for new clients when I'm starting to read for them, just because I guess it's kind of like having your old friends talk to new people and kind of gauge them. And I think this will always be one of my main decks, no matter what. Next is the Aquarian Tarot by David Palladini. I love things that are vintage, and I really wanted to get my hands on like the vintage version of this deck, but of course not a lot of vintage sellers ship to the Philippines for any rate that is within my budget or that I'm willing to spend for. So I just ordered this like new modern version of the Aquarian Tarot, and it's beautiful. Like, this is the second deck that I bought after the RWS, and I just really bonded with this deck. I love the colors. This is one of those decks that I can pick up and know that it will give me something really substantive. I use this a lot for clients as well as myself, although lately I've only been using one deck for myself, which is the next deck that we will talk about. I also own the Tarot in a Tin version of that. This one is good for readings, well, back when we were still going out a lot, because a lot of my clients would request to have the readings like at a cafe or at their studio or something, so I would usually bring this. And the next deck is one that's a more recent love, but just a very deep love. Fell in love with you like falling asleep. Suddenly, and then all at once. This is the Thoth Tarot by Aleister Crowley and Lady Frida Harris. And I just freaking, I love this. Like, I just got so sucked into this deck. And I was watching James Feeney talk about the Thoth Tarot, and he said something like, the Thoth Tarot can feel like coming home. And I definitely feel that way. I feel like I finally found a system that I can live with and expand in, and I just freaking love that. Yeah, this is my favorite card, or my favorite queen, I guess. It's hard to pick a favorite card in the Thoth Tarot because everything is so beautiful. Like, even the terrifying cards are beautiful. And the Queen of Swords is my favorite queen. She's just so cool. And I like her depiction here way better than the way that she was depicted in the RWS, where she's so like stern and everything. Here she's like wearing cool palazzo pants, and she just beheaded some dude, and she's topless and just like titties out. All about that Queen of Swords crazy energy. This is a star. Wow, so pretty. Yeah, I really love this, and I am honestly super duper grateful that I kind of got to know the Thoth Tarot and that it came into my life, because it's been helping me get through so much stuff and so much like karmic stuff to be resolved that I didn't even realize I had been carrying with me. I feel like there's something about the way this deck is built that it's just really good for drawing out all of these subconscious things, and wow. Beautiful. Chef's kiss. And I also own the smaller version because this was the only one available before, and I already wanted to start it, like, studying it. So yeah, this one I find is very good for very concentrated stuff, like if you're only reading for one particular thing. But I think if you're reading for something a little bit more complex, the big one is really kind of a necessity, because you need to be sort of absorbed into the world of the card. So the next question is, what is like an intimate relationship that you have with your cards? And honestly, the cards have gotten me through so much. I started tarot reading because my dad died in 2015, and before that my friend had done this reading for me, which kind of in a way foresaw that, and I just wish that at the time I'd sort of paid more attention to that reading, to the cues around me, just been more mindful in general. And I feel like tarot helped me cope with my dad's death, and also helped me help other people who I've met since then. So yeah, very, very intimate relationship with tarot and with all of these decks that I've mentioned up to now. So kind of moving on from that, I guess, before we get into the mood decks, I'll talk about a deck that's sort of in the in-between for me. So this deck used to kind of be my soul deck, or the deck that I would read for myself with, and that is the Line Strider Tarot. I still really like the imagery on this, but it's upside down. But it's just, I don't know, in a way I think I've kind of outgrown this as one of my main decks. Still beautiful, and you know, I think it still resonates in a way, but I just don't read with it as much because just something about the sparseness of the imagery. I feel like these days I really need to be kind of pulled into something or captivated by something, if that makes any sense at all. Yeah. Okay. So that's an in-between one for me. Sort of main deck in that I know it well, sort of mood deck in that I don't feel like reading with it very often. So now we'll move on to the next question, which is, what are your mood decks? My biggest mood deck, or my most frequently used mood deck, and what I think of when people say mood deck, is the Wild Unknown Tarot by Kim Krans. So I love this deck, I love the illustrations, and I am a big fan of Kim Krans' work. I also recently read her book, Bones and Blossoms, Blossoms and Bones, which just left me like crying at 2 a.m. So good. But I think something about this deck though that, like, I'm not sure the reason for it, but there's something about this deck that doesn't resonate with me sometimes. Like, sometimes I find the cards so difficult to read even if I know what they're supposed to mean. And I find that they work best, number one, if I'm reading for a subject matter that I wouldn't normally read for. Like, let's say, like trying to retrieve a memory that I had sort of blocked out. Good for that. It's good for reading for people with a lot of water sign placements on their birth charts. I feel like because a lot of those people are very emotional, but there's almost a murkiness to it, like if there's so much water in the chart, and this kind of helps them see that for some reason, helps them kind of draw it out. And another thing is when Mercury is in retrograde and I cannot understand anything about anyone, this deck just super duper saves me. So yeah, it's kind of a mood deck in that sense, where I'll sort of pull it out when nothing seems to make sense. And I feel like that's just as important as the decks that do make straightforward sense. I don't have a lot of mood decks, which I'm kind of happy about. This is another one that I don't use very often. I'm not sure if I would consider it a mood deck because honestly, I bought the Oracle deck version of this and I really like that. I really resonate with the Oracle deck, but for some reason the Tarot version just doesn't resonate with me, but it is really pretty. So does it count if you use it when you're in the mood to look at pretty stuff? Because I mean, look at this. It's like holographic. Sorry, my hands are so small. It's super pretty, super reflective. Yeah. So I don't know, maybe I just haven't used them that often, but I don't really like, you know, keeping stuff around that doesn't resonate with me. So this might be on its way out soon, where I will find a new home for it, someone to take it in. Okay, and last but not the least for my mood decks would be the Ostara Tarot. So the thing about the Ostara Tarot is it's super beautiful. I love this color, it's my favorite color. And then I love the way that the artwork is done. It's a collaboration between 3 or 4 artists. But it just doesn't make sense to me. Where the only time that this makes sense to me is if I'm in a deeply, deeply contemplative mood, to the point that I almost don't use words, or I can't use words for whatever it is I'm feeling. So yeah, and this is sort of the opposite of the Rider-Waite for me, where some of the images just won't stick. Like if you told me now, like what does the Page of Wands look like on the Ostara Tarot? Like, I won't be able to tell you, and I think I'm holding it. But honestly, I can't remember if this is the Page of Wands, because they're, like, it's wand colored, but there are cups up here, so it's just so freaking confusing for me. I guess it's just something that I don't really take to, which is fair. To answer like one of the final questions on this tag, I work more with my main decks. I don't think that there is such a thing as a perfect deck. I think maybe there's a perfect deck for that moment, or for that question, or for that phase in your life, but not one that is objectively perfect. I really like what Anna said about this, where the cards kind of reflect who we are, and since no one is perfect, no tarot deck will be perfect either. Yeah. So that's it for this video. Thank you guys so much for watching. I hope to upload more tarot content soon. Bye!